Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University. School of Education, SOE, Certificate in Elementary Teacher Education, for Tripura State, CETE. Compulsory Courses, MES 023 Emerging Issues in Elementary Education. BLOCK-1 Technology and Environmental Education. Unit-4 School Library and its Use, 4.1 Introduction. In the present democratic setup of India, the role of education is to promote intellectual and emotional development of the child through an effective and progressive system of primary and secondary education. The school in the past was entirely dependent upon the textbook. At present, however, method of teaching in school has changed. Accordingly, a teacher must employ dynamic method of teaching by which learning is accelerated and broadened by the use of various devices and materials. The school library plays a major role in this situation. It provides vital information and ideas that are fundamental for the functioning successfully in our increasingly information and knowledge-based society. Studies on the use of libraries conducted in recent past have revealed that majority of the users are unaware of the different types of resources, their uses, and the variety of services offered by the modern libraries. This accounts for undertaking this unit so that the learners may duly appreciate various uses of school library. Objectives. At the end of this unit, you should be able to understand the concept of school library, appreciate the services provided by school library, familiarize yourself with modes of document selection, classification and retrieval of the materials for use, critically estimate the role of school library in storing and disseminating information to learners for promoting self-learning, and realize the vital role of school library in the overall schooling process as well as self-learning. The concept of school library. School is the primary center for good citizenship. It is the foundation for university education and specialized learning. Every child with an average intelligence and ability starts taking keen interest in knowing things with curiosity and right through the schooling period. SLHE is on the way to acquire knowledge and enrich higher faculties. It is, therefore, essential to familiarize with the library, which would provide him quality reading materials. School library is capable of undertaking this important responsibility. It serves to arouse curiosity for learning and supplements the instructional program. For a creative life, an excellent educational program cannot be developed without the provision and support of our well-planned school library. The good books that a child reads, in addition to his textbooks, shape his character and determine his ideal for the future. In the past, one found that the term school library applied to anything from a collection of assorted books dumped in a store to classroom corner or array of books securely locked up in a cupboard located in the headmaster's office. Today, one can say that a school library ranges from a collection of books in a small or medium classroom located in the school premises. In a wider perspective, school library can be defined as collection of not only books but also pamphlets, journals, newspapers, audio-visual materials and other forms of printed and non-printed materials which are systematically organized and kept for reading and consultation. Since formal education at all levels requires a continuous reading and consultation of information materials, indeed the school library is supposed to be a multi-purpose establishment and a driving force in the realization of school's aims and objectives. It can be regarded not only as a reading material center but also as a service and teaching agency. 4.3.1 Aims. School library, being a part of an educational setup, does have the same aims and objectives as those of the school itself, and the aims of the school are not too far from the aims of educate in general. Whatever may be the level of school library, its aims should be to I provide documents for pupils and teachers. I develop and promote reading. I encourage research and study from many information sources. Provide recreational and leisure time reading. I re-emphasize the pedagogical principles of self-education for furthering individual interests and abilities. I give civic and social training in observance of democratic principles. In order to achieve the above aims and objectives, a modern school library should be considered a resource center, providing open access to its users. It should be made a center of informal education. Above all, it should be the hub of activities in a school. 4.3.2 Collection. Building up adequate collections of instructional documents is essential for the development of effective library services. The requirements of students and teachers must be taken care of adequately. Nature and size of the collection depend upon the school's philosophy of education, as per the IFLALINESCO School Library Guidelines. The smallest school should have at least 2,500 relevant and updated items to ensure a Wide balanced book stock for all ages, abilities and backgrounds. At least 60% of the stock should consist of curriculum-related non-fiction resources. In addition, a school library should acquire MET-IELS for leisure purposes such as popular novels, music, computer games, video cassettes, video laser discs, magazines, posters and other forms of printed and non-print materials. These kinds of materials may be selected in cooperation with the students to ensure that these reflects their interests and culture, without crossing reasonable limits of ethical standards. 4.3.3 Services. School library is a services library that should provide open access to documents. These are acquired and processed for use. On the other hand, close access aims at preservation. School library does not exist for its own sake but aims to serve the user. In order to perform its functions, a school library can provide a variety of services. No service should be considered less important, but under certain circumstances a librarian may not be able to devote enough attention to each of these. School library should provide the following services: display of materials and information, organization of story hour, book talks, book debates, essay competition and quiz, library orientation to a freshman, a reader's advisory services, circulation of materials, a reservation of materials, assistance in the use of catalog, assistance in the search and location of materials, assistance in the use of reference books etc., provision of information on request, maintenance of vertical files containing pamphlets, prospectuses, reports and press clipping, a preparation of reading lists and a interlibrary loan. Display of materials and information can be done to attract the students and teachers. We may adopt the following devices to achieve the same: organization of book exhibitions, display of jackets of new books, a display of newspaper clippings, display of lists of new books received, and a putting up of a wall magazine. For small children, a special period can be set aside for storytelling. This can be organized. Storytelling can be done by the librarian or teacher to attract the children towards the world of books. Book talks, book debates, essay competition or quiz can be organized to attract the students to the library. These may be done during assembly time of the school. The responsibility can be handed over to the librarian or teachers. Library is a growing organism. Therefore, it will grow in terms of users and documents. The size and variety of the collection can easily bewilder a freshman, a new number of a library. In addition, the tools of the library have an element of artificiality about them. It is not easy to understand their use. There are many peculiarities about the arrangement of documents, layout of sections and kinds of services provided to freshmen by the librarian. Orientation will be concerned with introducing the library so that they can use the library in a meaningful and effective way. A librarian should familiarize him with the varieties of the reading materials in the library, the ways of using them, and also the working of the library tools. Reader's advisory service is concerned with providing reading guidance to individuals. That is what they might read. Students need to be provided this kind of guidance. Circulation of documents to students and teachers is essential. Teacher would require documents for classroom purposes. A system would have to be worked out between teachers and the library. The document requested by a student or teacher might have been issued out or got misplaced. The item may be reserved so that when it is returned or located, then it can be passed on to the concerned user. User education consists of library orientation and bibliographic instruction. Library orientation is the first level and bibliographic instruction is the second level. Library orientation is given in the beginning and is confined to providing an awareness of physical location of different sections, staff and SOEs. Bibliographic instruction is a teaching function, the aim being to teach the user systematically as to how to use a library, including use of documents and services. It involves introduction to the information resources of a particular subject discipline as well as the techniques of making effective and efficient use of information resources and the library. It is a learning process. When a user, maybe student or teacher, goes to the library, Helsh might need assistance in the use of catalog, search and location of documents, and use of reference books. A student or teacher may want to know something about costumes of Santhal or a short biography of Ramanujam. This means that there should be a provision for information on request, maintenance of vertical files containing pamphlets, prospectuses, reports, press clippings, etc. can serve a useful purpose because these would form the basis of reference. Services. Preparation of reading lists is essential. This service should be provided to both students and teachers. Graded lists would be required for students. This will greatly help in increasing the use of the library. If required, school library should borrow documents on interlibrary loan from other libraries, especially the public library. 4.4 Selection of documents. The importance of a library depends upon the reading material it contains and how efficiently the material is served to the users. It is not only volume of reading material, which is important, but its variety and quality as well. Hence, for the acquisition of such material, library has to proceed in a systematic manner so as to meet the immediate requirements of its users. To develop a comprehensive collection, it has to keep in view the future requirements of the users. To acquire reading materials which would be useful to the library users, it is essential to have a clear idea of their requirements, their range of interests, etc. It can never be possible to acquire all the published reading materials, nor will everything published be found useful in a library, hence proper selection of reading materials is crucially important. 1. I-document section is the rock on which library service is built. In a recent survey, it was revealed that majority of the school teachers are unaware of their role in the book selection. Surprisingly, they did not know who selected the documents for them and how to go about doing it. It is generally presumed by the user that the librarian and principal have the sole responsibility for book selection, though it is not wholly true. As a matter of fact, it is the joint responsibility of teacher and the librarian to select best reading materials. 4.4.1 Sources of document selection. Sources of book selection are normally the documents selected from the following. Source: book received on approval from the suppliers. Document selection tools: reviews in newspapers, magazines and journals. Catalogs of publishers, producers and distributors. Lists of new edition of various libraries. Suggestions of the readers. Book exhibitions and book fairs. 4.4.2 Document selection tools. There are special IY design tools, which are meant for providing information about the retrospective, current and forthcoming publications, productions of interest to the user. Some of these are as follows. K selection tools for book. International Book Year /Newsletter. Paris, UNESCO, International Book Year Unit, Monthly. Cumulative Book Index. New York, H.W. Wilson Company. Monthly. Book in Print, New York, R.R. Boker Annual. Whitaker's Book in Print, the reference catalogue of current literature. London, Whitaker Bibliographic Services, a division of J. Whitaker. International Bibliography of Social Sciences, London, Tavistock Publications. Annual. BEPI, a bibliography of English publication in India. New Delhi, DKF. Trust, Annual. Recent Indian Book. New Delhi, Federation of Publishers and Booksellers. Association of India, Quarterly. Greater than selection tools for periodical and serial publications. Ulrich International Periodicals Directory. New York, R.R. Boker Annual. Directory of periodicals published in India complied by Sushil Kaur and P. Sapra. New Delhi, Sapra. Directory of Indian Scientific Periodicals. New Delhi, MSDOC. Press in India, Annual Report on the Press by the Registrar of Newspapers. For India, New Delhi, Publication Division. Greater than selection tools for government publications. Catalogue of Civil Publications of the Government of India. Delhi, Controller of Publications. Catalogue of Parliamentary Publications. Delhi, Lok Sabha Secretariat. United Nations Documents Index, New York, UN and specialized agencies. Library, Monthly. P selection tools for reference books. A Guide to Reference Material on India by N. Gidwani and K. Navlani. Jaipur, Saraswati Publications, 197 1, 2 volume. Guide to Reference Materials by A. V. Walford, 3, ed. London, Library Association, 1977, 3 volume. Greater than selection tools for dissertations and theses. Bibliography of doctoral dissertations. New Delhi, Association of Indian Universities Annual. Dissertation Abstracts International 1, Ann Arbor, Michigan Xerox University. Microfilms, Monthly. Selection tools for patents. Patent Office Handbook. Calcutta, Indian Patent Office, Annual. World Patents Index Abstracts Journals. London, Derwent Publications, Weekly. Tools for Standards and Specifications. Handbook of IS-1 Publications. New Delhi, BIS Annual. British Standard Institution Yearbook. London, BSI Annual. P selection tools for non-print materials. Guide to microforms in print. Western, Microform Review, Monthly. Newspapers on microforms. Washington, D.C., Library of Congress Annual. Audio, Visual Marketplace, a multimedia guide. New York, R.R. Boker Annual. Source of audio-visual materials. Washington, D.C. Government, Printing Office, Computer, Readable Database, a Directory and Data Source Book. Chicago, American Library Association, Irregular. 4.5 Preparation of documents for use. 4.5.1 Accessioning. After the selection of the documents, library may procure them from publishers or distributors. All the books received from publishers or distributors are checked thoroughly so that books found damaged may be replaced from the suppliers promptly. The next step is accessioning, that is, each and every book to be included in the stock of the library must receive a serial number called the accession number and be entered in the accession register, which is an essential and permanent record of a library. Sometimes it is called the horoscope of the library. The books procured are recorded in the accession register in the order in which they are received in the library. Accession register contains all important bibliographical information about a book such as accession number, authors, title, place of publication and name of publisher, year, pages, price, volumes, class number, etc. 4.5.2 Classification. Classification is a process of grouping which involves putting together like entities and separating unlike entries. In ordinary classification, we deal with the arrangement of ideas and objects in a systematic order. But library classification is concerned with arranging documents in the most helpful and permanent order. Library classification thus provides formal access to the documents in a library. Library classification is CETE. Translation QF, the name of the subject of a book into a preferred artificial language of ordinal numbers, and the individualization of the several books dealing with the same specific subject by means of further set of ordinal numbers which represent some features of the documents other than their thought content. The basic aim of librarianship is to bring the user in contact with a specific document or information. Various techniques are adopted by a librarian to achieve this aim. Library classification is one such technique which helps in the organization of documents and information so that the user can use sources of information effectively. Good book selection is basic to a good library collection, and proper classification is fundamental in organizing that collection and in the retrieval of specific document for use by the users. 4.5.2.1 Scheme of classification. There are many classification schemes available for library classification work like Dewey Decimal Classification, DDC, Universal Decimal Classification, UDC, Classification, CC, Bibliographical Classification, BC, etc. As per nature of library, it may use one of these classification schemes. Generally, Indian school library uses either Dewey Decimal Classification, DDC, or colon classification, CC. Components of library classification. The essential components of a scheme of library classification are the notation, common isolate, index, etc. The library users shall well try to be familiar with these to some extent. Notation. Notation is a set of symbols which stand for a class or subject, e.g. philosophy, literature, and its subdivision, e.g. ethics, English literature, representing a scheme of classification. For the purpose of arranging books, use of names of the subjects, broad or specific in natural language would neither be practicable nor convenient, so these are translated into artificial language of ordinal numbers. Notation is of pure and mixed types. Pure and mixed notations. Only one species of symbols are used in pure notation, e.g. either numerals like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 etc. or letters A, B, C, D, A. Zora, B, C, D, A. Z. In mixed notation, more than one set of symbols are used. Pure notation is easy to understand, but mixed notation is easier to remember and increases the capacity of the scheme of 1. Library classification. Common isolates. A scheme for classification dealing with the universe of knowledge, wherein the classification arrangements is purpose-based. Common isolates are those which are commonly applicable to all the subjects and can form component of several compound subjects going with one or almost all the basic subjects. For example, space isolates India, China, etc. Time isolates 1999, 2004, 21st century, etc. or common subdivisions like periodicals, dictionary, encyclopedia, biography, etc. Index. Index is an essential component of a scheme of library classification. It is of great use to the members in their handling of the classified part of a catalogue. Call number. In classifying each book, a document is provided with a distinguishing number specific to it. This can be used in searching the book from the stack and replacing it on its return to its right subject place. It is known as the call number. This fixes the position of book or any document in a sequence and helps to locate it through its entry in the catalog. The call number of a book is the artificial name, which is assigned to it on the basis of its thought content and physical features. Each document has its individual call number. No two books should have the same call number. For example, if there are two students in a class of the same name, these are individualized by adding their surname or father's name, etc. The same process is used in providing a distinct and specific name to each document by which it may be called. The call number comprises of the class number, which represents the thought content of a book, the book number, which represents physical features of the book, its language, number of volume, year of publication, etc., and the collection number, which represents the various types of library collections such as rare book, out of print, textbook, reference, etc. Now it is important to a user to know the outline of important classification schemes so that Helsh may retrieve the desired documents from library. Here we are giving outline of only two major schemes of classification, i.e. DDC and CC. 4.5.2.2 Dewey Decimal Classification at DC. DDC is a hierarchical scheme of classification which proceeds from general to specific. The basic arrangement is by discipline, and a specific subject can occur in any number of disciplines. This is due to the fact that each aspect of specific subject would go into a different discipline, and it is the relative index which brings together different aspects of a specific subject. In the latest edition of DDC, published in 2003, the universe of subjects has been divided into following 10 main classes: 000 Computer Science, Information, 200 Religion, 300 Social Sciences, 400 Language, 500 Science, 600 Technology, 700 Arts, 320 Political Science, 330 Economics, 340 Law, 350 Public Administration and Military Science, 360 Social Problems, 373 Secondary Education, 374 Adult Education, 375 Curricula, 376 Unassigned, 377 Unassigned, 378 Higher Education, 379 Public Policy Issues in Education. Each of these sections is further subdivided like 37.1 School and their activities, Special Education, 371.1 Teachers and Teaching, and related activities, 37.1.2 School Administration, 371.9 Special Education, 371.01 Public School, 371.02 Private School, 371.04 Alternative Schools, 37.1.042 Home Schools. Sahul Library and its use are 1000 NS of this sections. If we division are as 371.3 Method of Instruction and Study, 371.399 Use of Drama, 4.5.2.3 Classification. Classification is one of the most systematic schemes of library classification, one used in many libraries in India and few libraries in abroad as well. Dr. S.R. Ranganathan 1 devised this scheme. The 6th revised edition, 1963, of the classification scheme provides the following main class. Each main class has its own schedule. Z. Generally a spiritual experience and mysticism. 1. Universe of knowledge, MZ. Humanities and social science. 2. Library science, MZA. Humanities. 3. Book science and fine arts. 4. Journalism, NX. Literature and language. A. Natural science, 0. Literature. As. Mathematical science, P. Linguistics. B. Mathematics, physical science, physics, engineering, chemistry, technology, biology, geology, mining, botany. J. Agriculture. K. Zoology. KX. Animal husbandry. L. Medicine. Lux. Pharmacology. M. Useful art. Q. Religion. R. Philosophy. S. Psychology. C. Social sciences. T. Education. U. Geography. V. History. W. Political science. X. Economics. Y. Sociology. Y. X. Social work. Z. Law. Users need not go into details of the working of the schemes but try to familiarize with the general plan of the scheme. Some libraries display a plan of its classification scheme and also the class numbers of the most popular subjects. It may be placed near the catalog or at the center of the stacks. 4.5.3 Cataloging. Library catalog is a list of documents available in the library. Classification determines the subject-wise location of the documents on the library shelves, whereas the library catalog reveals to the users what documents are available in the library and where they are placed. Classification and cataloging are the twin processes which supplement and complement each other. Library catalog is the fundamental tool in the hands of users to help them make efficient and effective use of the library resources. The purpose of library catalog is to reveal the resources of the library to the users. Generally, users search the books in a library by author, title, subject, series, collaborator, editor, translator, etc. Taking all these approaches into consideration, the modern libraries provide multiple entries for each book under different headings. The various entries are named after the heading under which they are prepared, such as main entry, subject entry, author entry, title entry, series entry, etc. There are various physical forms of catalog like book form, sheaf form, and card form. Card form is very commonly used in all types of libraries. The size of catalog card is 5 inches by 3. The cards should be arranged alphabetically according to the first word, not article, on the top line. Library catalog enables the users to find a book if she knows the author, or the title or the subject of the book. It shows how many books there are in a library by a given author, on a given subject or in a given kind of literature. There are many cataloging codes available for documents cataloging purpose like AACR2, Anglo-American Cataloging Rules, 2nd edition, CCC, Classified Catalog Code, etc. AACR2 is one of the important codes used in all types of libraries. We shall now take an example of a book and try to prepare all possible entries which satisfy the different approaches and to locate the desired book. Entries are prepared as per the rules of AACR2. Example: Economic Geography, Resource Use, Locational Choices and Regional Specialization in the Global Economy. R.C. Ajimadar, Salil Roy Chaudhary, and A.K. Ghosh. Calcutta, World Press, 1999. Other information. Call No 330.9 Mat. Accession number 99161. Pages IV, 447. Size 25.7 cm. ISBN 0-1323-14441. Main entry enables the users to find out a book if they search according first auth. Environmental education or call number. Main entries are arranged according to call no or surname of first author. Look at the screen. 4.6 Sources of information. Literature of a subject is its foundation. It represents a record of achievements of human race. Literature is diverse, complex and multilingual in nature. It is becoming more and more interdisciplinary and growing very fast. Literature serves the information needs of various kinds of users. It forms source of information. The various types of information sources can be divided into two broad categories, namely documentary sources and non-documentary sources. 4.6.1 Documentary sources. The documentary sources may be categorized as primary sources, secondary sources and tertiary sources of information. 4.6.1.1 Primary sources. The primary sources are the first published records of original research and development. These contributions represent new knowledge, or at least new interpretation of old knowledge, and constitute the latest available information. Primary source materials may be conceptual, empirical or procedural information printed in books, monographs, ND periodicals or disseminated by film, tape and other record or obtained directly from individuals and society. Important forms of primary sources. Books. He books are of many types. Only those books, which contain originality of thought, and are the results of author's creative genius, can be considered as primary sources. The classics and other masterpieces of world literature come under this category. Periodicals. These publications make up the bulk of primary sources. They include research journals, bulletins, transactions, and proceedings or similar works, which appear regularly or continuously in numbered sequence. These are generally published by societies, research institutions, universities, experimental stations, government agencies, etc. These publications are very important for research, particularly in science and technology. More up-to-date information and the result of recent researches generally appear in periodicals. Examples: School Science, New Delhi, National Council of Educational Research and Training, Quarterly. American Journal of Physics, New York, American Association of Physics. Teachers, conference papers, papers presented to conferences, symposia, seminars, etc. are important contributions to primary literature. These papers are circulated to participants only or sometimes brought out in abstract form and sometimes also is published in book form. New Delhi, National Institute of Open Schooling. 2003. Research monographs. These publications cover a specific area of knowledge, presenting authors' originality of thought previously unpublished. Sometimes series of such monographs are brought out. Example: Children of Very Low Birth Weight T. Allison MacDonald, Research Monograph. Volume 1, Philadelphia, Lippincott, 1967. Diseases of Cocoa J. Byca Thorold. Oxford University Press, 1975. Search reports. Such reports originate in various research organizations and government departments. Generally, these are the reports about research and development projects which often remain unpublished. Example: Scientific and Technical Aerospace Report, Natio-Lal Aeronautics Space Administration, NASA, USA. Patents are also the part of primary source literature. For new invention, its patent rights are obtained from the government. No other published description of the idea of its application is available previously. This is particularly useful in science and technology. Example: World Patents Index Abstracts Journal, London, Derwent Publications, Weekly. Standards. These are very necessary in industry and manufacturing process. They lay down minimum standards. Example: Guidelines for the establishment and development of monolingual thesauri for information retriever by International Standards Organization. Thesis, dissertation. Universities and research institutions normally require a candidate working towards a doctorate degree to write thesis under the supervision of a guide. These are supposed to form an important category of documents for researchers in the concerned field. Example: Comparative study of formal and non-formal methods of teacher education. For teaching English, TBY Kshamta Chaudhary, supervised by Chandra Bhushan Sharma, Kota, Kota Open University, 2002. Trade literature. Trade literature is an important source for getting information about particular products and their development. Unpublished sources. These sources are particularly useful in social science research. They comprise various types of materials such as laboratory notebooks, memoranda, letters to or from a particular individual, company files, inscriptions, portraits, coins, and oral history from living persons. 4.6.1.2 Secondary sources. Secondary sources of information are those which are either compiled from or refer to primary sources of information. These contain information regarding primary or original information having been usually modified, selected or reorganized so as to serve a definite purpose or group of users. Such sources contain information arranged and organized on the basis of some definite plan. It is difficult to find information from primary sources directly. Therefore, one should consult the secondary sources in the first instance, which will lead one to specific primary sources. Periodicals. All periodicals do not report original work. There are a number of periodicals which specialize in interpreting and providing opinions on developments reported in primary sources of information. Such periodical may be considered secondary sources. Primary Teacher, New Delhi, National Council of Education-IAL Research and Training, Quarterly. A Staff on Educational Development International. New Delhi, Network for Staff and Educational Development, Aravali Book International 3 times in a year. Bibliographies. Bibliography is an organized list of primary or other sources relating to a given subjects or person. It is usually arranged alphabetically by author or chronologically or topic wise. It may be comprehensive or selective. Examples are listed in section 4.2. Indexing periodicals. An indexing periodical is a regularly issued compilation of titles of articles that appear in current primary source journals. Applied Science and Technology Index. New York, H. W. Wilson, Monthly. Indian Science Index. New Delhi, Indian Documentation Service, Fortnightly. Abstracting periodicals. Abstracts appear in different formats. The best known format for abstracting services is periodical. An abstracting periodical is a regularly issued compilation of concise, some naries of significant articles that appear in current primary source journals and of important new research monographs, reports, patents, and other primary source publication in that field. Example: Indian Science Abstracts. New Delhi, National Institute of Science Communication and Information Resources, Monthly. Reviews. Review is a survey of the primary literature. It aims to digest and correlate the literature over a given period. It also indicates the developments and trends in the field concerned. Annual Review of Information Science and Technology. Washington, D.C. American Society for Information Science Annual. Treatises. Treatise is a comprehensive compilation or summary of information on a subject. A treatise on a subject provides enough information to a person to acquire basic knowledge. 30 essential for carrying out advanced research. It also provides facts along with discussion. Example, Treatise on Analytical Chemistry, 2nd, ed., New York, InterScience, 1978. Monographs. Monograph is a short treatise on a specific subject. A monograph and a treatise serve the same purposes with the difference that a monograph is an attempt on a limited scale. Example, An Introduction to Enzyme Chemistry by P.F. Ledley. Textbooks. Textbook is a book of instruction. Its primary aim is not to impart information about a specific subject but to enable one to develop proper understanding of the subject. Presentation is extremely important and it is prepared to serve a particular level of readership. Examples, Sociology of Education He S. Chandra and Rajendra K. Sharma. New Delhi, Atlantic, 2002. Teaching Mathematics in Elementary School Shimalo Edigar and Digumati. Bhaskara Rao, New Delhi, Discovery Publishing, 2003. Reference books. Reference works, which contain the desired information itself, are considered secondary sources of information. These include encyclopedias, dictionaries, handbooks, yearbook, etc. Encyclopedias. Encyclopedia is a book giving information on all branches of knowledge or a specific subject. It is an ideal book, which deals with concepts. It is a storehouse of knowledge, giving all information of significance. Examples, New Encyclopedia Britannica, 15th edition. Chicago, Encyclopedia Britannica, Inc., 1989, 32 vols. World Education Encyclopedia, a survey of the Educatio-all systems. World 8.2 inches ed., edited by Rebecca Marlowe Ferguson. New York, Thomson, Learning, 3 vols. Dictionaries. Dictionary is a book which deals with words of a language or of some special subjects. Author, etc. Thus a dictionary is a word book. Examples, The Oxford English Dictionary, 2nd edition. Oxford, Clarendon Press, 1989. 20 vols. Dictionary of Computing. Tables, graphs, diagrams and illustrations are also provided. Example, Handbook of Educational Ideas and Practices. London, Routledge, 1989. Manuals. In common practice, a manual is an instruction book which instructs how to do something by means of specific and clear directions. Examples, Library Manual by M.K. Jain. Delhi, Shipra, 1996, 4.6.1.3 Tertiary sources. Tertiary sources of information contain information distilled and collected from primary and secondary sources. The primary function of tertiary sources of information is to aid the searcher of information in the use of primary and secondary sources of information. Most of these sources do not contain subject knowledge. Due to increase in literature, tertiary sources are becoming increasingly important. Bibliography of bibliographies. Bibliography of bibliographies lists bibliographies which direct readers to useful bibliographies through subject, name of an individual, place, institution, etc. The bibliographies referred to may be in the form of a separately published book or part of the book or part of a periodical article or some other type of document. Example, Bibliographic Index, a cumulative bibliography of bibliographies. New York, H. W. Wilson. Directories. Directory is a list of names and address of persons, organizations, manufacturers, or periodicals. Example, Directory of Cities and Town in India compiled by O.P. Sharma. Delhi, Kripa, 1989. Guide to Literature. Guide to Literature assists a user to use literature of a specific subject. It helps to evaluate and introduce literature. Example, Reader's Guide to the Social Science. New York, Free Press. 4.6.2 Non-documentary sources. Non-documentary sources of information form a substantial part of communication, especially in science and technology. Users' studies have underlined importance of such sources. These sources provide information which other sources do not. These sources are two types, formal and informal. Formal sources include research organizations, societies, industries, government departments, universities, consultants, etc. Informal sources include conversation with colleagues and experts, attending conferences and meetings, etc. Very often, the conversation or discussion would point out primary or secondary sources, documentary sources. Informal sources are live sources, which are extremely important in the process of communication. Very often, if a scientist working on an experiment needs some data, he would turn to his colleague working in the same laboratory rather than consult a printed page.